All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Creativ Rise Podcast. Today, we are flipping the script. We did this last week with me. It's now turn to ask you questions. So,
I'm nervous.
Christy is our guest today. She has no idea what I'm about to ask her. I've written out questions. I have not prepped her on any of these questions, and we're going to get into some stuff about her story, her business, and we'll see how well you can just rhyme stuff off.
Maybe.
Which will be good.
Yeah.
And Christy said prior to this episode starting, she goes, "Can I wear my sweatpants? Because this is my episode."
I said, "Can I wear my sweatpants and can my dog sit on my lap because this is my episode?"
Now, what people need to probably learn is that you do probably wear sweatpants. In almost all the other episodes, they just can't see your pants because we're standing most of the time.
100%. It is
Christy,
the uniform.
Christy's a massive sweatpants girl.
I am a sweatpants girl.
Okay, Christy, we're getting into it. Rapid fire. This is going to be different rapid fire.
Okay.
We've never done rapid fire like this on the podcast. So we're going to do the normal rapid fire real quick. So name, business, where you're from, real quick.
Yeah, Christy Speers, photographer, both in weddings and brands. And I am from Northern California.
Okay. And we're going to go, what's your unpopular opinion? Your sister has a podcast, and they always start their podcast with unpopular opinions, and it's actually really, really funny.
Oh.
So what's an unpopular opinion you have? This does not have to be
starting out gross.
This does
We're
not,
okay, Christy
this does not have
lives
to
in
be
sweatpants,
related. This does
and
not
she
have to be
believes this.
related to.
Okay, good. Okay, so
Critter
here's
World.
my unpopular opinion: is that I think toilet seat covers are completely unnecessary.
Okay, that's.
So
I've
like
never
Christy
used.
wears sweatpants and she doesn't use toilet seat covers. I just go, if you're doing it right, like if you are sitting correctly, why do you need them?
Yeah, I mean, I've never used a toilet
If
seat
you like
cover.
wipe off, you can like wipe off the thing, but that's it.
Okay, so marry, date, and pass. Canon, Sony, and Fuji.
Oh.
Which one are you marrying? Which one are you dating? Which one are you passing on?
Okay, marry Canon, date Fuji, pass on Sony.
That's
Sorry,
tough for the Sony guys. Okay, first camera you ever owned. Do you remember?
It was the Canon Rebel T3i.
Really? You were a T3i?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It was actually
That's
great
hilarious.
with a $100 kit lens.
That's hilarious.
I used that $100 kit lens for probably 3 years. And I shot.
I love it. Most embarrassing shoot story. Not necessarily a flop, but like what's just an embarrassing shoot story? Either for like your client, it was embarrassing. It was like secondhand embarrassment for the client, or it was like embarrassing for you.
Okay. Well, the very first wedding, which the client actually didn't know about this, so maybe if they're listening, they'll be like, "Oh shoot, that was crazy." The very first wedding I ever was contracted to get paid for. So I had done a couple weddings for free for friends. The first one I ever got paid to shoot. Literally the morning of, I was like getting all my gear ready, so excited. I had my little Rebel T3i. I was stoked. And I turn it on and I get like an error message and the camera like won't shoot. And I had one camera, one lens that I was going to shoot this one wedding on. So I run to Costco at like 7 a.m. waiting for it to open. And I had to use my mom's credit card to buy another camera from Costco because I didn't have enough of a limit to buy another camera. And was like, if my camera doesn't work, I'm going to have to use this Costco camera. And it was total crap. It was probably a Sony. And my camera actually ended up magically working that day. But I was terrified the entire day that I was shooting all the photos and that they were just going to get like error messages at the end of the day. And that was terrifying. The client never knew. Thank goodness. But
all right.
Yeah, it all worked out.
What has been your, just rapid fire this, but I don't read the story on it yet. What's your favorite location you've ever shot a wedding in?
Oh, I loved St. Lucia. That was amazing. But I love any national park.
Okay.
I know that's so classic.
Okay, cool.
But
What's your favorite brand you ever shot for?
I would say LaCroix because they've been my most loyal client.
Yes,
and I love
they have
them.
been. They have been super loyal. Okay, what is Joey? What do I do on set that drives you nuts?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we'll be.
Do you have one?
Well, I don't know why this was so instant.
Like that came too quick.
It's when we're on set and Joey will be directing a reel or a video or something like that. And if the scene doesn't flow super great, you'll just go quiet and you'll look at me and I'll be like, have to jump in and be like, okay, so girls or guys or whatever, do this, this, and this. And I can tell you're looking at me like you're like annoyed that this is all not going super easy to plan. And you'll just look at me and I'll be like, Joey, go, like tell them to do something. And we like internally silently fight over who has to direct.
That's actually very true.
Is that what you think I was going to say?
I do that. Okay. This is the most important question on the podcast probably today. Who made the first move?
Technically, me. No backstory. I tapped Joey. We were in line at LAX. Had never met him before. We were in the same line together, and he was wearing a camera bag. What is a Ruka bag? Zach Noyle. He had a bag on that I had been looking at online, and I tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Hey, is that a camera bag? I want to look at it." And he was like, "Sure." And then the rest is history. So technically, I made the first move.
Christy did make the first move. Okay, Christy, what's a flop you've had? We talked about the embarrassing story, but like give us a flop, and then we're gonna move on.
So honestly, I think my biggest flop, because it could have been my biggest tragedy, was I was shooting a wedding in Jamaica, and I normally had always been like, I book my own accommodation. Just had a lot of stories of like waking up with the makeup artist's booty call next to me, smoking a bong in the middle of the morning, and it just is not good. So I was like, okay,
literally, that's a real story.
That's real. That's another flop story. But I was like, okay, we're going to Jamaica, and you know, the couple was from there. Like, I was like, okay, maybe this is all good. They were like, we will get your accommodation. I was like, okay, that's fine. So then, anyways, show up to Jamaica. It's like, arrive with my friend Megan. Shout out Megan. Shot a bunch of weddings with me. We show up at the Jamaican International Airport at like probably 10:30 at night, and the first thing was I jump into the car, realize there's no steering wheel. Oh my gosh, we drive on the other side of the road in this country, and I had no idea. So learned how to drive on the other side of the road for the first time at 10:30 at night in Jamaica, which was hilarious and actually so fun. But drove to where just the address was. I had gotten the address that morning of when we were flying out for where we were staying. Anyways, drive all the way out there, realize we show up to a semi-sketchy looking spot, and all the bars over the windows, everything's locked, no vacancy, whatever. We show up, we're like banging on the door. It's probably getting close to midnight at this point, and there is nobody home. And so we're literally standing there and in the middle of kind of felt like nowhere. And this guy finally came in, opened the door. He was like a lobby guy. And he's like, hey, there's no rooms. Like, you don't have a reservation. Your name's not anywhere. We have no available rooms at all. And me and my friend Megan are sitting there like, what are we going to do? Like, we had no idea what to do. And so we're talking to him. This is like the nicest guy. And he was like, well, okay, I'll help you drive to a couple different spots. Like, just follow me in your car. So we're like, sick. So we're like driving to probably like 6 different hotels, and every single one he's like coming back being like, no, like my friend said, no vacancy, whatever. So it's getting close to like 1 to 2 a.m. at this point. We have nowhere to stay. And he was like, okay, I've got one last spot, but do you have cash? And I was like, I got like $200 in cash. He's like, okay, follow me. So we follow him to this interesting like lodging area, and we pull up to this other guard shack, and he's like talking to his buddy, and he's like, hey, give me your cash. And I'm like, okay. So I hand him over my cash. He hands it to the guard, and then the guard leads us down to this building, and from that building he gives us some keys. We walk down a hallway, we open up the door, and then we just like get in, close the door, lock it, whatever. And I look around and I realize we are not in a hotel. We are in the guard's apartment. There's like dirty dishes in the sink. There's like nothing on the bed. My friend Megan and I were like,
bed, right?
What? Yeah, there's no sheets on the bed. Very Gen Z. And I was like, okay, well, we're just going to have to make this work. So anyways, we just stayed in a guard's apartment at 2 a.m. in
this is
Jamaica.
When Christy and I started dating, and I was screaming at her through text, go stay at Sandals right across the street from where you were supposed to be staying.
It was not the bride's fault. It was the wedding
planner's fault. It doesn't matter, guys. This is the first lesson of the podcast. It doesn't matter. If your client books you accommodation and it doesn't get booked, and you're in a different country, two young American girls at 2 a.m. at night driving around, like, you need to be safe. You got to be way safer.
Hey, the people that helped us were very helpful.
I was not proud of Christy.
I was
for doing
grateful.
That was not a good move. All right, Christy, you are not going to toot your own horn, so I'm going to toot your own horn. So you have built a 6-figure business in the wedding space for years. You then built a 6-figure business in the brand space as a brand photographer. You've got retainer clients that go back, clients you've worked with, the same clients, to go back as far as like 7 years. Like, they just keep working with you, the same brands. They love working with you. You've traveled all over the world to shoot weddings. You built your wedding business to a place where you were getting like a couple inquiries a day, right? Mm-hmm. You actually had to hire someone to start responding to say no because you wanted to get back to everybody, but you had so many inquiries coming in. You were doing so many other things. you also helped start up a nonprofit that does clean water projects down in Nicaragua. You are like incredibly accomplished.
Wow, thank you.
And I love you. You're amazing. This podcast is going to dig into some of those things because this is what I often say about Christy, is that Christy is a super, super fascinating hybrid between somebody that can dance in the wedding space really, really well and build a great business there, but then has also been able to successfully transition into the brand space. I don't know how many other people have actually done that and done it the way you've done it, because you weren't just like, oh, I'm jumping into the brand space, and you just like only shot wedding brands, or you only shot like traditionally, like when a lot of people switch over in the wedding space, like their first couple brands are like they're working with like female like friends that have like brands. They're really just shooting like their friends, you know. You jumped in and started working with the global brands in the brand space. So you're really fascinating that you've done both of those at the highest level, which is cool. So first question here, what's something about your childhood that people don't know that was unique, that you think might have shaped you to be versatile in that way?
That I was incredibly average at everything growing up.
Come on.
I'm serious. I always got the most improved awards in all the sports. It was never like, hey, you're the best at this or you're the best at this. It was like you averaged better than you were at the beginning. So, and that was actually very indicative of my entire childhood. I was never the best at anything. I was always pretty average, like average in grades, average in like sports, average in even creativity. Like I was never, ever one of those kids that was like, wow, that's a creative girl over there. It was more like I just was okay at everything. And I think that that's actually not a bad thing at all. I think in a lot of ways that's a strength. To kind of just be average at everything. And I think what that teaches you as a kid is you can grow to do what you want to do. And you may not be the best, but the goal isn't to be the best. The goal is just to do everything well. And I think if you can do a lot of things well, that's much better than doing one thing perfectly. Or a lot of other areas of your life can fall short if you're the best in one area, right? Like people that are the best in the world of sports, a lot of times those people go to the Olympics, do incredible things, but maybe their personal life falls short or their other lives fall short. Yeah. So to be honest, like being average at everything is not a bad thing. So if someone's sitting here going like, oh my gosh, you have to be so incredibly creative or so gifted or so whatever in order to really do the things you want to do, I'm living proof you can be average and accomplish some fun things.
That's funny. That's funny. That's actually a good answer. That's not what I thought you were going to say, but that's good. So are you still shooting weddings?
I am in a very small capacity.
We leave literally today. In like an hour. We fly to Miami.
Miami to shoot a wedding, which I'm really excited about.
Which is going to be great.
Yeah. I love humidity.
It's a multi-day, couple-day thing, which is going to be fun.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be hot over there, though.
Yeah. I'm kind of doing a blend of
still shooting weddings.
Yeah.
Give us the backstory real quick on like what has that transition out looked like, and then what does it look like to transition back in? Give everybody like a timeline, so that people understand kind of like what your career has looked like.
Yeah. So I don't love the term regrets, but I do like, I don't know a different term for it, but maybe like learning from it or like would have done it differently with hindsight bias. But yes, back in the day was shooting a ton of weddings, was getting multiple inquiries a day, all of that kind of stuff. Just had built it from the ground up, and was getting a lot of really incredible clients. I got to a point where I was talking to a friend and he was like, hey, what does like your future look like? All this different stuff. I was like, well, I love shooting weddings. I think it's so awesome. But I also feel a little tug in me. Like when I really think about stuff, pray about stuff, I'm like, I felt a tug in me of like, life's going to change. Like life's going to change and you need to prepare for that. And so I, at the time was like, okay, well, like maybe that means that I won't be shooting weddings like a ton. Like maybe I'm stepping out of weddings and more into the commercial space because that was kind of naturally happening with the commercial side. It was naturally growing. And I, at the time, loved shooting weddings, loved shooting couples, but really it was hard on my body, like was having some back issues, things like that, and was ultimately like, I don't know if I want to be gone every weekend anymore, like on a plane, literally every other weekend. So started shifting more into the commercial space. And then I shifted completely out of weddings. Like I literally closed down my website for weddings, shifted all into brand. And that was really fun. And I felt like it was what I really needed to do. And it was really cool. And like that's also, when we had started Creativ Rise, so there was a lot of time and intention going into that as well. And so there was just a lot of stuff going on. And so I closed everything down, and probably about a year ago. So that was like a few years of just shooting brands solely.
It's probably like 2021 was your last year of shooting.
I finished my final wedding and I was like, I'm done forever. And so I then did a few years of just working with brands. It was incredible, so much fun. And then I just recently, like in the last year, I think I shot something for a friend. They were like getting engaged, and they were like, can you come out of retirement for our proposal shoot and engagement shoot? And I was like, totally. Like, you guys are some of our best friends. And so I did that, and I was like, dang, I miss this. Like, I miss working with couples. I miss how special this feels. Like, brands are cool. There's a lot of fun stuff to it, but there's something unique and special about working with couples. And there's also something very unique and special about the responses you get from couples versus brands. And I'm a huge words of affirmation person.
Yes.
And when you oftentimes deliver for a brand, it's like, sick, checks all the boxes, thanks. Where it's like,
great job, Christy. Like,
a bride will be like screaming, crying, love this, changed my life. And I'm like, I love how that makes me feel. So in some selfish ways, I'm like, oh, I miss bringing that type of joy to people.
Yeah.
And I miss that aspect of working in weddings. So honestly, with no real huge plan, I've just been like slowly just dripping out more content, things like that, picking up some things. And it's just been organic, very, very organically just happening, which has been really fun. And so I'm just like tentatively dipping my toes back in. Mm-hmm. If I was to do it over again, this is my hindsight bias, not regret, but would do differently, is I wouldn't have shut down my wedding business. I would have created some really great partnership referral programs with some really incredible photographers that I love and would have loved to see get more work. And I would have set up some partnerships with them where I would send inquiries their way. And would have just kept my wedding business going. And that would have been a great little revenue source for me, but then also would have given a lot of really incredible jobs to some incredible photographers that I know. So that is a would have done differently for sure.
Well, that's interesting, because my next question was, if you could go back and change one thing about your wedding business, what would it be? Other than that, knowing what you know now, if you could go back and go, hey, Christy was running her business this way, I would advise Christy to not run her business again that way. Even though it was successful, like, what would you go back and change?
Okay, I have two things. One, I remember I had someone in my life when I was first starting, and they said something pretty discouraging about my business. And I actually took a year off because of it.
What did they say?
They were just saying, I was kind of saying like, oh, like, I just wish that, like, back then it was like I feel like what you care about so much at the beginning is like how your photos look and your editing and like all of that. And I was like, oh, I'm just so frustrated that like my work doesn't look like this photographer's work. And that person was like, yeah, sometimes it just doesn't fit, or like doesn't work, or like you just aren't as good. And I remember just being so discouraged, and I was like, well, I don't want to give people subpar work. And so I took a year off and was just
when
like,
was this?
This
I don't think I've ever heard about this.
This was before I lived in SLO for a year. I went and lived in SLO for a year, and I was like, okay, well then I'll just stop taking work. Like it honestly was a conversation where I was like, whoa, I don't want to give subpar work. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. But it was a discouraging comment that actually caused me to take a year off. And I wish I wouldn't have taken that year off, because I don't think I needed to. I think it was insecurity that made me take a year off. Another situation was I was working part-time for a different company, and I got the inquiry to go shoot a American Indian wedding in Hawaii. And I was like, they were going to pay. It was going to be incredible. And this was back when I was like very much part-time getting into weddings, and I was so excited. And I remember they said, no, you can't go because you'll miss a meeting. And I remember being like, okay, I won't go.
Crazy. And knowing you now, I'm like, that's crazy.
I've changed a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to mess up this other job. Like, whatever. I don't want to be disrespectful. But looking back now, I was like, that was really dumb. That was a dumb move to kind of, again, let insecurity stop you from doing stuff. So if I could just go back, I just would have been more bold. I think in a lot of ways I was very bold. But there were definitely some things where I feel like I let maybe something else someone said discourage me from actually pursuing it.
Insecurity and fear.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you're I'm saying this from your own words.
Oh yeah. Naturally fearful.
You are the most like fearful person you talk about.
Yeah.
That does not come across to almost anybody. Like I think people listening to this are gonna be like, what? Like Christy's fearful. She's gone on to do all these amazing things. Like, what do you mean she's fearful? How does fear actually like manifest in your life, and how does it affect you in business?
Yeah, that's a good question. Fear is definitely a staple of my life, of my childhood, of all of those things. Had a great childhood, but just had a lot of just random things happen that just like I was brushed with uncertainty and felt like I think everyone's wired in different ways to respond to fear in different ways. My wiring is to try to like control things, or it's try to like foresee and forecast any negative thing that can happen. So in some ways, if you are a fearful person, there are some benefits to being fearful. I think in a lot of ways, there's an intelligence that comes with fear of like forecasting, and there's discernment, and there's like preparing and all of that kind of stuff. But I think what I had to realize growing up at some point, and this is something I'm still very much in the midst of figuring out and trying to become, it's definitely a like proactive action for me, is being addicted to the other side of fear. As Joey's aunt put it, I've talked with her a bunch about fear. We both struggle with fear, and we both say, I'm addicted to the other side of fear. I'm addicted to that feeling of overcoming something. And so I think in that way, it's shaped so much of what I do in business, and it's shaped so much of what I do in life, and how I try to approach things that I'm fearful of is, instead of like cowering back and going like, ooh, but like what if, instead going like, well, what if? Like, what if I can do it? And what if this actually does go well? And like, let's get to the other side of the fear. And yeah, still very much in process of figuring all of that out. But
you're a big do it scared person.
Yeah,
like
definitely
fear
do
is
it
not
scared.
Christy's definitely not a person who is like stagnant because of her fear. This is what was so interesting. And I think this is what's so shocking when people learn that you're actually quite a fearful person, because they're like, wait, Christy's always doing things, or she's always like quite literally trying to do that thing in business, or quite literally jumping off that cliff, in real life into the river. And she's nervous to do it, but she's like, I want to try this. I want to do it. You're like,
shaking at the top of a black diamond. Joey's forcing me to go down halfway down crying.
But you do things scared, which is really cool. So hopefully that's encouraging to people, because that is that's a big part of your story. And I think it's really unique and really cool. Yeah. And I'm super proud of you on how you handle all that stuff. So Christy, what about weddings? Because a lot of people would look at you and go, well, Christy started building her business back in like 2015, 2014. Mm-hmm. It must have been easier back then. And then they look at now and they go, it's so much harder. It's so much more, just full of other photographers. Everyone's shooting the same, it's just more saturated. Like, is that true? Is that not true? And then really the question in this is like, what is true about what it used to look like to build a wedding business that you did that worked really well, that's also still true now? Have the fundamentals changed? And if so, what are they? If they haven't changed, what is still the same? And what can you encourage people to just like recenter themselves on?
Yeah, I think the fundamentals never change. Trends change. So fundamentals of people who learn to acquire and harness and move attention forward will succeed. So if you are someone that can manage to attract attention, and sometimes that's labeled as bad, but in business world, it's amazing. If you can harness attention and push that attention towards an action that you want them to take, that is the fundamentals of business. That's the fundamentals of getting inquiries. It's the fundamentals of all of that different type of stuff. So the ways that you attract attention are always going to be changing and always going to be shifting. But a lot of the fundamentals stay the same. And that is what I've found. I started my business off of influencer marketing, which is hilarious when you think all the way back then, that was like very much not a thing, or it was just the precipice of influencer marketing. And I think that it is still one of the things that people overlook the most is the power of other people talking about you. So I had gotten started. I knew one other wedding photographer at the time and was in a different space than I was. And I remember just being like, wow, I have no idea what to do. I think if people are like, oh, it's so much harder today, I think there's ways in which maybe there's some aspects that are harder, but man, has there been so much education and groundwork laid for you if you're just starting right now for clients to want to book wedding photographers that are quality, to make that decision, to actually really jump in. Like there's so much education around the wedding space that actually in a lot of ways, there's some ways that's much easier for you now to get in than it was back then. But I used influencer marketing. So my very first thing that I did when I was like, okay, I want to go full time. I'm going to give myself 6 months to go full time. And if it doesn't happen, then I'm going to go be a lawyer or something boring. And that's
Which
actually,
is actually true. Christy did go to law school for a little bit.
So I remember talking to this wedding photographer friend, and I was like, hey, if you've got anything that I can come and like shadow you on and shoot, I would love to do that. And she's like, well, actually, I have this shoot coming, this little styled shoot coming up with an influencer in San Diego, and you can totally come along and shoot. And it's like literally the most generous offer ever because it was something she was doing to try to build her business, and she was letting me come on for free. Mm-hmm. And so I went down, shot this influencer with a bridal dress company that was local, that was really trending, and basically marketed that and got a ton of work off of that because this influencer was like very up and coming, all of this different type of stuff. The dress company was up and coming. And I basically utilized influencer marketing, and I shot with some people that I felt like were influential in my area, felt like they were influential in California. And because of that work, it referred me to other people, right? In like a cold way, it referred me to other people. And I think that sometimes people start and they're like, okay, well, like I'll just, create some work at, a styled shoot or something like that, which is cool. But I would go, what are ways you can get on the highway of attention that someone already has built that you can just jump onto? And then that way it can like spread like wildfire rather than just like, oh, let me just take my friend across the street and take some photos real quick. That stuff's great, but it's more powerful if you can get on someone else's highway of attention. So I think that's what I did at the beginning that helped rocket ship me up rather than just like waiting for inquiries to come in or talking about how I was a wedding photographer now and all of that kind of stuff. It's like, how can you get on someone else's highway of attention in order to grow? And I think that fundamentally never changes. It might change in how it looks or how you work with people, but I always encourage people that are just getting started, like find people that are influential, whether they're social influencers or they're like a family in your area that knows everybody. And if you did a free photo shoot for them and asked them to post that, 50 perfect ideal clients would be like envious of the photos that they have or want to follow that person. That's such a great way to get started. Spark the fire.
Yeah, that's like so true. And as you have started kind of getting even back into weddings, I'm seeing you do that. Like when you decided to get back into things, maybe like a year ago, you really started toying with the idea. I just watched you start to write things down, and you just started to write names of people. People we know, people we don't really know, locations, and you're like, how do I just get back into that highway of attention? And you've started to do that. You've started to carve that, which is really cool. So that's awesome. Okay, let's switch to, it never changes. Let's switch to brands. So you've done so many brand shoots over the last 7-8 years. And for a long time, you actually were shooting brands, but nobody knew you were shooting brands.
Yeah.
Why don't you just super quick, because I want to move on from this and get into like some brand stuff, but why don't you actually talk about what was going on when you first started to shoot for brands and what that actually looked like? Because for a lot of people who have been following you for a long time, they'd go, she was shooting brands 7-8 years ago. And it's like, yes, but nobody really knew it. And why did they not know it?
Yeah. So branding, like your own brand and who you represent yourself as, is super important. And when it's disjointed, when it's like, okay, I'm shooting weddings and I'm shooting brands, you kind of have to decide which one's the forward-facing brand. And for me, that was weddings. I knew that inquiries were going to inflow into my business through weddings. I knew that brands, I was either needing to go and pitch or they would somehow referrally end up in my network. So me spending a ton of time posting about brands, posting about things that who I was working with and things like that, when it was just an aspect of my business at the time, I just knew it wasn't worth the attention I was stealing away from weddings. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have my front-facing brand be weddings because that's what really attracts inquiries. That's how I'm going to get that work. And then I will go out and pitch for brands because it's going to be much more of like a cold approach and not like, oh, a brand's going to end up on my half wedding, half brand profile and want to hire me. Like I just knew that that's not the case. And so I had a couple brands just randomly land in my lap when I was shooting weddings. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I can shoot your product, or yeah, I guess I can shoot, this person or whatever. And it started just organically happening in that way. I remember what was not organically just coming in my lap was I really wanted to work at the time. They were called Beholden. Now it's Anthropologie Weddings. It's Anthropologie's wedding line. And I remember I wanted to shoot with them so bad. I felt like almost every bride that I had at the time had a Beholden dress. And I remember just tagging them, sending them stuff, sending them albums of, great weddings that I shot where they had a Beholden dress and they would use those photos for free and all of these different types of stuff. And I was just like...
Which is crazy because I feel like so much of the conversations we have with creatives all the time, they're just so
like, this
stuck
company
up.
used my photo for free.
This
I want to
company
sue
asked
them. I'm
me,
like,
this
okay.
company just messaged me asking if they can repost this on their account. How do I get money from them? And I'm like, guys,
No, I was literally sending them albums. They were
He was
like, can we
hey,
see this? I'm like,
shot
absolutely.
some of your dresses. Like, here's an album.
Oh, I tagged them in every story. I was like all over them.
Why? What's the case? What case could you make for why that is so much better than doing the opposite of that?
Well, I think that it's all, if you want to work with a brand and you're like, okay, my thing is that I'm going to just approach them coldly and send them a random email and say, hi, I want to work with you. Like tends to be much harder to try to actually get a brand to work with you with no relationship. Mm-hmm. So this is relationship building. It's, hey, I'm going to give so much before I ever ask that by the time I give and ask, it's like, man, we know this girl, she's given so much to us and she loves our company. Let's give her a shot.
Yeah.
And what actually ended up happening with Beholden, it was super cool. So for probably years, I was like tagging them stuff, sending them stuff, building this little relationship on Instagram with them. And then one day they reached out to me and it was crazy because I had a list of some brands and some places and some things that I wanted to shoot as like a goals list. And I remember writing Beholden at the top of my list and always thinking that was such a pipe dream. And I remember they sent me an email and they're like, hey, do you want to do like a giveaway collaboration? And I remember just being like, oh my gosh, they're asking me to do something? Like, absolutely. And so I did a free giveaway collaboration with them completely for free. And I was like, you know what, I want to do like a full shoot with them, but like, I'll take this to start the relationship. So we did that together. And then from then on, they actually brought me on to like shoot different lines. We went on influencer trips where I was able,
which was super cool. Like you used to travel around the country, going to like really bougie places.
Yeah, we
with
did
a bunch of influencers,
Napa,
and their
Georgia,
whole creative directing team,
South Carolina,
all the dresses, and you'd go out and shoot everything.
Yeah, we did incredible stuff, and so, but that would have never happened if I hadn't been tagging them, if I hadn't been giving stuff to them and building that relationship. Yeah, so if you're sitting here going, well, I want to work with brands, I have a brand that I really want to work with, think, well, what am I giving them right now? Like what am I giving relationally to them that because this is literally what happened, because I was talking to the girl who was hiring me. I was like, how did you guys even decide to work with me? And she's like, well, we were sitting in our boardroom meeting and we were talking about this influencer trip and how we needed a photographer. And we said, who do we know? And we said, oh, Christy. Like, she sends us all this stuff and she's got great work. And she seems like she loves our brand. So let's bring her in. Exactly. And that would have never happened if I just cold pitched them. I would have never gotten it.
Yeah, those are the three things. Like, we interact with her a lot. She's got great work. Yeah. Because we interact with her, we know she's great work. And because she interacts with us all the time, it proves to us she likes our brand. Yeah. Those are the three things that make someone go, why would we not have this person come on, right? Yeah. So if you're trying to get into brand work and you're either in the wedding space right now or you are already in the brand space and you're just like, I'm just not getting enough relationships, take a lesson from what Christy's saying and just be an animal about going after, like, how do I just make myself really, really clear that I want to engage with this company? I've got great work, but most importantly, I really, really like what they're doing. Support them, and you will be shocked how your name gets thrown around down the road. But it's a long-term game. Sometimes it happens in a week. Sometimes it happens in a year. Yeah. But if you stick to it, it's going to be beneficial. It's going to benefit your business. So, Christy, what's something you learned about brands in the last couple of years that you wish you would have known when you first started shooting brands?
That they're just people. Like, that's what I just learned about brands, is they're just people. Like, they're just people behind a corporation or behind a company or behind whatever. And they want to be dealt with like people. And so when we try to feel like we're being, if we're super corporate in approaching a brand, I think this is where it's felt like personally, it's helped me so much in the brand space and getting work is just being a great person to work with. And I know that sounds trite and dumb and like, oh, there should be a way better like little example for this, but I just think like developing relationships and being the easy person to work with will always bring you back. I think that's like why I've had these really long-term relationships is I'm not super stingy with my relationships with my brands, like with the people that are behind the scenes in the brands. Is if they're like, hey, can you turn something around in 2 weeks? I'm like, absolutely. Hey, can you do this super last minute? And I'm going to forget to send you the product and I'm going to forget to do this. I don't get on them and say, well, you need to respect my time and blah, 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 blah. Like, I
actually wish you would probably do that a little bit more. Sometimes we're like running around town. I'm like, gosh.
Yes.
But Christy's very good
it's
at
important to have good respecting conversations and like clarifying things. But I know running my own business that things can be sloppy. Things can be hard. Things get busy. Like you forget to do things or whatever. And so as much as possible, I think I've done a really good job. And being an insecure person, I think I've done a really good job at doing this is not taking things personally, not taking feedback personally. Hey, the colors of this weren't good. We need it like this. A good job of hey, you did this wrong. Okay, you did this wrong. Like to me, I think like just the feedback loop and being very open to like the client and what they want and being able to not be like, well, it's my art, so it needs to look how I want it to look. Instead, just being like, this is theirs. I am like a cog in the system of making something happen for them. And while that maybe doesn't sound like cool and creative and whatever, I'm like, that's just as my personality. I'm like, hey, if you want it done this way, I'm happy to do it. And like, I will drop what I need to drop in order to do this for you. And I think that's led to a lot of longevity. And I think sometimes in the creative industry, people get really hung up on like, well, I want it to be this specific way for myself. And I don't know. I think I was just born without that. It's probably because I was average. I never thought I was the best. I never thought my creative was the best. And so I'm like, yeah, I can do what you need me to do. And I think that relational piece is really important. I also think that becoming an asset to a brand is not just delivering great photos. It's being a producer. It's being someone who can come in and not just show up on set and take photos. That person's so easily replaceable. If you're someone who's like, my only skill is to press a button on a camera, you got to develop some more skills than that. I think a lot of the reason why I've been able to take on like higher paying gigs and consistent gigs is that I handle everything from start to finish. So I am not just a photographer. I'm also the producer of the shoot. I'm the director of the shoot, which means I'm sourcing models. I'm sourcing locations. I'm getting permits. I act with clarity. I bring mood boards to the table. I bring sets to the table. And bringing all these
designs,
things,
like
all the design,
literally everything. Christy will do literally everything for a shoot, where all the company has to do is write her a check.
Yeah. And honestly, it's so much more fun. Like I've done a lot of shoots where I am just the photographer showing up on set and there's a lot of producers and directors and stylists and all of that kind of stuff. But I think you become a huge asset when you can go, hey, I will show up and not only shoot, but strategize. Like I will strategize for you on how this is going to be useful in your paid ads. I'm going to strategize for you how this is going to be useful for your organic, for your email marketing campaigns. Like we look at the full funnel and let's create a shoot that benefits the full funnel rather than just, this one post. And so, being strategic in that way.
Yeah. What's the difference between pricing in the brand space versus the wedding industry?
Yeah. So pricing in the wedding industry, super simple. Different ways you can do it for sure. I know people who build a la carte packages and every quote is a custom offer and everything like that, which that can be great. I like to do 3 packages in the wedding space. You got your like low, medium, high, and you price anchor them. So your bottom 2 are actually pretty close in price because I hear a lot of people and they'll go, well, everyone's booking my lowest package. And it's like, okay, well, are you giving everything they want in the lowest package? And they're like, well, yeah, it's like 8 hours and this and this and this and a second shooter. It's like, no, make your lowest package something less than what they actually want, less than what they're needing for their day, and make it a price. And then your next package should actually be like really close in price, but it has everything they want. 8 hours, a second shooter, whatever it is. The things.
So
that
what you're really doing is you're pulling up.
You're trying to pull them
package.
Up. It should. The client should be thinking, oh my gosh, for only $800 more, we can get this, and this. Like, let's do it. Come on, let's do it. And then you make your third package more of like a moonshot package. It makes your middle package look inexpensive. So your moonshot package should be like, it's got all these, bells and whistles, things like that, but not astronomical. And it's a high package, and it's supposed to make the middle one look inexpensive. And then, so it's price anchoring. It's pointing to the middle package, which you want people to book. Yeah. I also think having a wedding weekend package, something that is like separate from those three, or you can make it your third. It's a crazy package. It's super expensive, and it's got everything under the sun that you would want to put in it. You got to have one of those. You got to have some package where you're like, if someone books this, I'm laughing. Like this is actually hilarious.
Give somebody a reason to spend a crazy amount of money. Some people want to do that.
Exactly. Give someone a reason to spend a crazy amount of money with you. And I promise, if you're in the wedding industry long enough, someone will book it. Yeah. So you want to have
We've had that happen a lot this year with like people in Creativ Rise that we've been like, hey, let's build you a moonshot package. Yeah. And then we get messages. They're like, oh my gosh, I just booked this moonshot package for $12,000 or $15,000.
Yeah. And pricing in the brand space is a bit more fluid. It's definitely harder. It's not as like, oh, well, this person's probably charging this, and so I'm going to land myself in the middle of the road or whatever. You kind of have to think about like where it's being placed, how it's being used, the size of the company, the value they're going to get from it, all of that different type of stuff. But just for simplicity's sake, and we can move on, but just like brand space, you usually offer 2 packages. Like 3 packages tends to be a little bit much. Oftentimes, if you've got a 2 package standard, it helps with just the decision, but it also gives them an option. The one thing you don't want to do is only give one price option, because the human mind wants to naturally compare. And if you give one option, they're going to take your option with someone else's option. Give them 2 options. It fulfills the desire to be able to compare, and you win. Either way, you win at the end. So a little bit different there, but yeah, I like to do more 2 packages in the brand space.
Okay, there's like 100 other things I would love to talk about. We have a flight to catch, so we do have to wrap this up. But we're gonna have to do this again because I have more questions that I want to ask you. Has this been fun?
You enjoyed this? Has been good.
Cool. Okay, guys, has this been fun for you guys? Let us know if you guys like these style of podcasts. Let us know, because we'll definitely do more of these. Last 2 questions. Where can somebody find you?
Christy J. Speers on Instagram and ChristySpeers.com.
Great. And why is it worth it? You've been doing this since 2014, 15.
Yeah.
Why do you keep doing it? Why is it worth it?
I think it's worth it because I genuinely think businesses are meant for good. So I think that, I started out Joey alluded to it earlier, I started out post-college getting into the nonprofit space. And I remember being so excited about the vision for what nonprofits do. I remember being so excited for the good that it does in the world and kind of like passing on that generosity. But I sucked at it. Like I was actually terrible in the nonprofit space. Like maybe not terrible, it's might be dramatic, but I just remember when you do a job and you're like, this isn't clicking. And then you do something else and you're like, whoa, that just clicked. To me, business, I clicked in business. And building a wedding business at the time, I remember just thinking like, man, this is clicking so incredibly well. It's so much fun. It's like, when you're doing something and it's like, it's not easy, but it works, right? And I remember it just working. And I had never felt that when I had worked in the nonprofit space. I loved what the nonprofit was doing, but I never felt like what I was doing was actually like setting something on fire. And I remember being really disappointed because I was like, shoot, I want to be someone that like cares about the big world, right? I want to care about other people that, are less fortunate. I want to care about doing good things in the world. And I remember feeling like business was selfish. Like, I was picking something that was like selfish, and that's why it was like fun and like making money and all of these different types of things. And then it kind of all changed for me when I went on a trip down to Nicaragua. I got hired to shoot a wedding in Nicaragua at this like sick treehouse resort. And I remember the nonprofit that I still work with, but was working with at the time, was drilling clean water wells in Nicaragua. And I was like, this is so cool. So I like brought a couple friends down with me for the trip. We went and drilled a well that we had sponsored through my business. And then I shot a wedding like 3 days later, all in the same country, all in the same trip. And I remember having this really cool full circle moment where I was like, whoa, like businesses can be good. Actually, me deciding to step out of the nonprofit space and into my own business, I was able to create change through my business that I would have never have done if I was just an employee of a nonprofit. Now, incredible. Nonprofit space, incredible. If you're gifted for that, do it. You will create so much change. But I remember in my own way, I was able to go, whoa, I can make this full circle moment where I'm giving back and creating this incredible business and then shooting this incredible wedding and giving them so much joy, and yet also bringing clean water to this family. Like, this is how I want my life to live. I want to live my life in a way that feels so aligned with my values and yet also pursuing what I love. And I felt like in that moment, it was like everything got aligned. And I was like, whoa, business is so much greater than just benefiting me and even just benefiting my clients. And so that's something that I like love that we get to live by is like, it's like how much can we give? Like how much can we to continue to give back and how much can we talk about giving? Like I think sometimes in our age and space, people are like, oh, well, you give when you're older or you give when you hit a certain amount and things like that.
Give when we have more. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, it just giving feels so good because I think it's how we're hardwired as human beings to be able to live. And so, yeah, John Harris, who started our organization, he's like, the more you give, the more you live. And I'm like, it's so true. One life to win, life to give. And
I love it.
I think there's nothing more purifying to your soul than giving. And so to me, I'm just like, the more you can make in your business, the more you can give, the more you are able to succeed in business, the more you can give. Like, that's just why I feel like I love to do it, is that it felt like it started out for me, but it doesn't end with me. And that's what's cool.
And that's why I love you.
Oh,
great job.
Thanks.
This was awesome. Guys, thanks for being here. If you want more of this, let us know. Bogey's making a show again. Here he is, sleeping. Guys, if you want more of these, let us know. Yeah, hit us up. Shoot us the message if this was helpful. If you just got so much from Christy's story, I feel like it's amazing. Share it with a friend. If you know somebody that should be listening to this episode, share it with a friend. And as always, we will see you next week. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.